Planning Commission.
They're meeting now.
They're meeting now. Should we recess and find out what they're doing? South King County Transportation Board.
Nope.
Nope. Pierce County Regional Council.
Nope.
Nope. Sound Cities Association.
You may refer to the last meeting, we don't need anything tonight.
Okay. Valley Regional Fire Bureau.
Well, the only thing that I got a memo here. I don't know whether all the rest of the council members got it or not, but Linda Osborne, that's a board member. She's been an Algona City Council member for years. I see her husband passed away. Really acknowledge that. I don't believe that there isn't many details on it, except that the FRA was called in to assist him, and he was transported to Valley Medical Center in Renton, and he obviously expired there. That's the only thing that I know is what I got tonight.
All right. I don't think we have any public hearings set for tonight. Nope. We'll go into old business. Item A, Finance Window Resolution 2013-044.
I wasn't here last time, but I think I got the changes you requested that were put on my desk. If I didn't, or in my box, if I didn't, please let me know so I can fix it.
Are there questions?
Did I get it right?
Looks like it.
Yeah.
One, check there's a typo, section 3, line 2, right after September 1, 2013.
Oh.
Just an extra five, but yeah, Eeyore. My
Hmm.
daughter wrote that.
I'll fix that before I get a signature.
Is there a motion to approve Resolution 2013-044?
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Putnam is moved and Councilmember Halsey is seconded to approve Resolution 2013-044. Councilmember Putnam.
We continue to have some significant issues in finance that need to get resolved and need staff time, and we don't have full staffing to do it, so I don't see at this time any need to restore the finance window to statutory hours of operation until issues are resolved and staff is in place.
Before we go to Councilmember Halsey, Councilmember Geyer reminded me that we hadn't actually read the resolution for the benefit of those who don't have a paper copy. They're voluntary to do so.
Or just what the resolution is, not to read all the whereas.
Okay, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Pacific, Washington, setting the hours the Finance Department will regularly be open to the public. And this is keeping them the same as they currently are, open from 9 to 4:30 until we either get all of the vacancies filled or September 1st of 2013, whichever is first.
Thank you. Councilmember Halsey, speak to your side.
I pretty much agree with the summary things that.
All right.
Councilmember.
Further remarks from council? Seeing none, comments from the audience? Seeing none, question for the council. A motion by Councilmember Putnam, second by Councilmember Halsey to approve Resolution 2013-044. Do we do these by roll call or voice vote?
Resolution by roll call.
Councilmember Jones.
Aye.
Councilmember Putnam.
Aye.
Councilmember McMahon votes aye. Councilmember Geyer.
Aye.
Councilmember Walker.
No.
Councilmember Halsey.
Aye.
Councilmember Steiger.
Right.
Motion passes 6-1. I feel like you're the only one voting against something. I've been there. Next on our agenda is the renumbered item B, licensing fee ordinance for nonprofit, ordinance 2013-1845.
This just requires that nonprofit organizations in our city obtain a license so that we can ensure that they are in compliance with all federal and state laws. And there would be a $10, a nominal $10 fee attached to that license. That would be an annual fee.
Any questions of Councilmember Holden? Councilmember Walker? No. Of somebody else? Okay, go ahead.
So, from what I learned, for things like medical marijuana, the state doesn't issue licenses for fear of, I don't know if it's for fear of, but because they don't want to get in the middle of what's legal in the state and what's illegal at the federal level. So by requiring, let's say, a business that sells that, are we putting ourselves in some kind of risk if we refuse a business license for something that's legal under state law, legal under federal law?
I didn't understand the question.
So right now, we have a business in town that is a medical marijuana dispensary. So it's legal under state law, it's illegal under federal law, right? Marijuana is illegal under federal law.
Right.
So by the city issuing licenses for charitable and nonprofit organizations, if that business comes in to get a license, and we refuse to issue it because it's illegal under federal law, are we putting ourselves in risk? Because it's legal under state law.
I don't believe so.
Our code requires it to be legal under both. We can't issue a license for it if it's illegal under federal law. State or federal law is what our code says. City, a specific code requires.
So if our current code requires that we not issue a license.
That's correct.
So are we still on solid legal ground?
I believe we are.
Thank you.
Other questions? Do I hear a motion to adopt?
So moved. I just moved to adopt resolution 2013-045.
1845. Councilmember Holden has moved that the council adopt ordinance 2013-1845. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Councilmember Holden, speak to your motion.
That just ensures that all of the nonprofits in the city are in compliance with the state and federal laws, and it allows us to know who's in our city.
Councilmember Staggers, speak to your second.
And I think that, when this is not really aimed towards giving these medical marijuana people whatever out on what I think it mostly was to like the Pacific Partnerships and these Terry Home, some of these people that, so I don't know, we should try to maybe figure out a way to segregate a difference between a nonprofit business and a nonprofit organization. Just crossed my mind after a second.
Okay. Councilmember Walker, I think I seconded that.
Yeah, so do we have a plan to notify organizations that we currently have within town? And then how do we track it? I mean, how do we, if they don't know about it, they can't comply with it?
It will be advertised, if the ordinance passes, the ordinance will be advertised in the paper of record, that's required. I would guess that we're going to do a poll of anybody who knows of anything, because it would include all the churches, it would include the Lions Club, the Eagles, the VFW, the whoever else there might be, and if we can contact them and let them know that this has been adopted, that was the reason to have it multiple readings and come before council and be made public.
Do we know if they're required to register with Washington State? 501c3s, I wonder if there's a way to find out any
The
nonprofits registered.
The state of Washington does require entities, there's different classifications of entities, but the state of Washington does require registration.
I wonder if we can get a report somehow.
And depending on the income and expense threshold, then if the IRS requires that 990, that might be a good resource.
And they do require 990s now. It used to be only if it was over $25,000, and now you have to do an informational filing with them, irregardless of how little or how much you do, because the Brains and the Lions Club are both falling into those things.
Yes, Councilor Putnam.
Question on how much of a business nexus someone has to have in town here to qualify for this. In the for-profit world, if a contractor comes into town and wants to work on somebody's house, they're supposed to get a business license for working on somebody's house. Do we know how many, for instance, social service nonprofits provide service within city limits to city residents that would need to have a city business license for that? We get, if Catholic Community Services need a business license in town for their contract, or is all of the work being done by their local contracting organization? Do they not need a license? Do we know?
It would require them to have a license if they're operating inside the city of Pacific.
We also have people like Home Depot and Lowe's that come in and donate their time to things, but yet they are a business. But yet then we have the medical marijuana issue. Maybe we should refine this before we go any further. I think a little more detail needs to be put into it, just exactly who qualifies underneath this situation.
Councilor Holt.
By definition, there's no such thing as a nonprofit business. Businesses are in business to profit. Nonprofit organizations are charitable or other organizations that exist for the benefit of society and or the benefit of groups of people. So what we're doing, there are several municipalities in the vicinity. Fife is one that requires nonprofits purchase a license from the city. And I think it's appropriate that we follow that lead.
Further remarks?
Yeah. Look at your...
Hey, don't move too far, else someone will be able to see candidates. Further remarks? Comments from the audience?
Can you contact Fife?
Once you,
Really?
yeah. It just makes it so much more order. It's a long walk.
It is.
Gotta go.
I'm tired. I'm spread. Urban normal.
Is that your herbs and normal?
I'm crabby urban.
Yeah.
Hey, Katie Garvin, 366 White River Drive. Can you contact Fife and find out how they do it? As far as Home Depot coming in and helping and Catholic Community Services to find out if they require everybody in the free world that steps into the city to dump $10 on your door, or how it works? Because you said that Fife does this already, right?
Fife does it already.
Can you contact them and find out?
Yeah, the state pays for it, they send out fee every year at Fife.
Okay.
And as far as I know, they just publicize it in the paper and make the requirement. So any business comes into town, then
Well, I'd hate to see us lose people coming in to help people that need it. There's a lot of people in town that probably get help from organizations that, are in offering a small little podunk or who have you what, and if they're required to drop $10 in the town, they may I mean, $10 can be a lot to a small profit.
Yeah. Further remarks from the audience? Come on up. No, you gotta point that at yourself.
I am.
Okay.
Oh,
It's all right, it's on there.
no, it wasn't, now it is.
Okay. Jean Fancher, 37248 55th Avenue South. I'm a member of the Lions Club. We've helped a lot in Pacific. We have a post office box in Pacific, but no physical presence as far as a office, a place where the books are kept, no binders. Most nonprofit corporations have to have a location where their books can be looked at. So what definition is being used for a presence in the city? I believe some cities have it's called Green River Ordinance. It's an ordinance that requires solicitors to get a business permit if you're coming in doing, sales on a street corner, weekend at the fair. Just the question of what is the criteria? Is there? I haven't had a chance to read the ordinance, so I'll be acknowledge that I'm ignorant about that. But I would like to know what the criteria is, and I'd also like to know, what if there's a threshold of the amount of business being done. There are a lot of one-person nonprofits. There's a veterans organization in Auburn that the fellow does about $80,000 worth of solicitations a year for veteran services, and he puts out about $5,000 or $10,000 worth of benefits according to the IRS standard. If the intent is to require organizations to be in compliance with federal and state laws, how is that being monitored? What city resources would be going into checking to make sure that they're in compliance with federal and state laws? Are we talking about equal opportunity employment? What about the Boy Scouts? Religious organizations that are exempt from certain federal laws, but are we going to does this ordinance try to hold them to that? And then the separation of church and state. Is this an infringement on religious freedom to ask religious groups in town, whether they're formal or informal, to register with the city and be licensed? I think there are several cans of worms here that may be opened that may not have been addressed in the discussions and the workshops. So I would like to ask the City Council to put a postponement or a hold on this resolution until the further issues can be studied. First Amendment rights of religious organizations, the threshold of an organization. Is it donating time in the city, having a presence in the city with an office, or having the Lions Club, a member who keeps the books and the charter of the local organization at their house, or is it just having a post office box in the city? So there are a lot of variables that I don't think have been addressed. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Further remarks? Seeing none remaining council remarks, Councilman Putnam.
Further thought on nonprofits, if in the business sense, after the flood, if we had contractors come in to work on people's duct insulation, they have to get business licenses in town. Do we actually want to require the Red Cross to get a license here in town before they provide disaster aid?
How about FEMA?
Should we have some sort of emergency clause in here, or some sort of provision to allow disaster response at least without requiring a permit first?
So, in light of some of the comments that we had just heard, I would like to hear what our attorney has to say on this matter.
Too late today. In view of the comments that would be made, would be my recommendation to the council, they put the matter over for 2 weeks, at which time I can contact the city if I can see how they've addressed the problems. very familiar with the city manager and will with us. Their questions have been raised, emergency situations, presence in the city, donated labor versus others, all valid, all need to have answers, and I believe they should be addressed in the ordinance.
Councilmember Stagg.
I'm not sure that, just brainstorm here. When people come in for Pacific Days with the vendors and stuff, are we requiring those vendors to get a city business license?
Yes.
Saying a nod, yes.
We are?
Yes, good, nod your head.
And what?
For food vendors.
Well, I was just curious, because that fell under with one of the immediate special umbrellas to cover those people. And I don't have that question.
Okay. Further remarks?
I move to postpone for 2 weeks.
Second?
Councilmember Posey has moved to postpone adoption of ordinance 2013-1845 for 2 weeks, putting it on the, somebody have a calendar in front of them?
June 10th.
April 10th? June 10th? Yeah, April.
April's wide open for me, though.
That's a free night. Councilmember Halsey has moved to postpone consideration of ordinance 2013-1845 to the June 10th agenda, council meeting agenda, and Councilmember Putnam is second on the motion. Councilmember Halsey, speak to your motion.
I have a question to ask the attorney first. Did you speak with the administrator of FIVE and then forward that to us so that we can go over it at next workshop, please?
Absolutely.
Councilmember Putnam, for a second.
Nothing further?
Okay. And I just want to be clear, also the intent of council to carry this to next week's workshop as well. That would have been.
Yeah.
Work through somebody.
We can get
Okay.
information in time for you.
Okay, good. Further remarks from council on the motion to postpone? Comments from the audience?
Good idea.
Question for the council is a motion by Councilmember Halsey, seconded by Councilmember Putnam, to postpone consideration of ordinance 2013-1845 to the June 10th council meeting agenda, and it will also be added to next week's workshop agenda. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
In light of that, I move to postpone the next item, the resolution on James P.
Second?
Councilmember Halsey has moved to postpone consideration of ordinance 2013-045 to the June 10th council meeting agenda, and also have that on the next week's workshop agenda. Councilmember Halsey, speak to your motion.
It's tied to the ordinance, or it's at least partially tied to the ordinance, and the special fee for the business license.
Councilmember Walker. Further remarks from council. Councilmember Putnam.
Awfully glad we had the second vote before we passed it instead of after.
Thank you. Further remarks from council? Comments from the audience? Question before the council is the motion by Councilmember Halsey, seconded by Councilmember Walker, to postpone consideration of resolution 2013-045 to the June 10th meeting agenda. This will also be added to next week's workshop agenda. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries.